Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut here, Brian Galke, and we are
Yes.
ACES53, which is Attitude, Commitment, Enthusiasm, as SMILE stands for the acronym of ACES. The
Mhm.
53 is the first joker in the deck, so it's really four aces and a joker. The joker is that unique ability you bring to the table in sales, or what we also say pretty much in anything these days in life, because you use sales in everything we do. And that's my last thing, and I'll see you guys later. Just kidding.
Yeah.
How's it going?
And we're done.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday at
It's been a
10
long week
a.m.
already.
Pacific. How's it going? It's been kind of weekends are crazy. It's like they're here and they're gone,
Mhm.
and then it's Monday, and then we're here on
Well,
Tuesday.
it seems like always the week following a shorter week. So last week, a lot of people had off for President's Day. So then everybody tries to cram stuff into the last of the week, and then you start back off this week, and it's like, okay.
Well, you also remember there was 2 actual President's Day. So of course, in our area, every school is off one Monday and then the next Monday.
Oh, interesting. Okay. What I didn't
A lot of people
understand.
go skiing that week.
Well, so my kiddo they did an early dismissal on Thursday, but had a full day on Friday. I'm like, why didn't you swap those and then let families take off early Friday?
Because they don't
Who
care.
knows?
They
Yeah.
don't care. They don't care.
Doesn't make sense.
Does any school these days make sense? Let's move on because
That's
we'll be
true.
here for an hour. So we've been talking about the last couple of weeks how we kind of you went majorly viral. I had a viral, but then
Mhm.
I started thinking about it, and this is before you told me something else. We were off mic, and I was like, stop worrying about whether or not your video is going to go viral. The
Right.
most important thing is talking to who your client is. Find out who that client is and only focus on getting them the information you want.
Mhm.
It probably will go viral at one point when you have a hater, because as you know, we don't run from them, because that's what helps you do that, but focus on just getting the right content out to the right people.
And that's exactly what Ryan talked about at his event. So I mentioned last month, in January, almost the next month. Early January, I went to Ryan Majin's event, which was how to go viral on videos. And that's what
Oh,
everybody that got up said the exact same thing. They said nobody knows for sure what the algorithm is. Plus, it changes all the time. So really, the content is, what are you passionate about? What do you believe in? And put out your actual doing stuff. So people kind of like educational videos, but people want to see it in action, not just you always talking to them. Let them see how it works, let them see how it goes. But the important part is, if you try and make it go viral, it's like everything else. The harder you try, the less you'll achieve it. But if
mhm.
you put out consistent content, one day something will pop.
Right, but it's still gonna even consistent content's not gonna go crazy. You don't need to have millions of followers for most of us, right?
Right.
There's gonna be these people who do things that we won't do, and they'll get these deals for millions of dollars because they're doing the stuff that we won't do. Like, just you figure it out. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But you need to focus on just what you're trying to get out there, what's the word I'm looking for, what's your message,
Right. What's your
and who is,
consistent message?
yeah,
Yeah.
and focus on that, and
Well,
just constantly put videos out, minimum 1 a day, if not 2 to 3 a day.
Well, the whole thing is, likes and followers are vanity metrics, meaning they look good, but it doesn't necessarily mean people are going to buy more or people are going to take advantage. It just means people go, maybe I want to see their stuff again. Now, long term, is it good to have? Absolutely, because you want to have people in your pipeline and people who eventually, because what they say, it's going to take between platforms and everything else multiple times before people see you, before they ever trust you. And oh
Yeah, but
God,
that's also direct mail. That's
yes,
everything. I remember
exactly.
when I did direct mail, it was like 3 times I had to have them see my actual piece in the mail
Mhm.
before they would actually go, "I know this company. I've seen them before."
Yeah.
And now it's because of all the video stuff that's in your face constantly, it takes a little bit longer for that to happen.
100%. And that's why Laurel, she spoke at the Speakeasy in New Orleans, and she's got that book, $5 Ads. I forget the name of it, but I think I mentioned it
$5
to you
ad.
before. Yeah, $5 ads. And the whole
Is
thing
that the
was, she
name of
said,
the book?
it's something like that. Like, I'll look it up here in a minute. I actually ordered a copy of it, and then freaking Porch Pirates stole it from me while I was out of town. So I need to order another one.
You should
But
ask them if it worked for them.
yeah, exactly. If I see another rich one in my neighborhood, sorry, I had to
Yeah.
cough there.
They were like,
But
"Oh."
what
This is
she
what
said
we
was,
stole.
I'm sick, I'm ill. That the fact is you can't trust like Meta Ads Manager. Why? Because it doesn't know which actual platform did somebody eventually buy from. So they're going to, of course, tell you, oh, it was all us because they want you to buy their ads through them.
Right.
But you don't know. If you're putting it out there across different platforms, you never know where did they hear it. They finally decide to pull the trigger. And that's why it's more difficult now. It used to be, go back to the old days of it. You paid a marketing agency who ran only an ad on TV or radio. Maybe you were published in a magazine. You could say, oh, it was definitely this one ad that popped. If you watch old like infomercials, they'll say, and to get the special discount code, put in specials 25. Then you knew where did they come from. But
Yeah,
now
but you
with so
still
many
can do the
platforms,
same thing.
right?
You can put codes on everything, you know.
You can, but most people don't.
No, they don't. But because
Right.
they don't understand. Not everybody has a degree in marketing or know all the stuff that we used to do. And this is what's I want. Some people go, you're just a boomer. You know,
Yeah.
go fuck yourself. I'm not a boomer. First of all, I just have a really gray beard. But if you go back in time, these people don't know what we used to do in marketing. The old stuff is what works. And go back to it. Get the old books, read them, bring them out again.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Take that knowledge that's there from people who built this stuff over time. If it wasn't such a great thing, you wouldn't have the funnel hacker guy buying up all that stuff and rebranding it.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, well, you look at, like you said, you can do it. People just want to be lazy and go, okay, well, I'm just going to post and that's it. And not
works.
It does.
Especially if you're like these fake breastfeeding moms now. Have you seen?
I don't think I know what that is, but okay.
They have fake babies. It's like, oh, dude, so they can show their. It's like I see everything. Because you look at it's if it's on there, I'm gonna look at it. But I'm just like, people are doing this stuff that you don't need to do.
Yeah.
Anyway,
crazy
because you can't not, that's allowed in public, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the whole thing. And so they're like doing these things, and it's like, people, really, I want to see other stuff. I finally got rid of that one algorithm that was showing me all this other, not nasty. It was just something else that I never wanted. It was all science stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dude, I don't want to see all this science stuff.
Yeah.
It's nice, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see what other people are doing in my industry, what other people are doing in, industries like mine, just so I can see what they're doing.
Sure. But what we're going to talk about today.
We're talking about something else today?
Yeah, we're going to talk about something else. We're setting up for Thursday when our guest comes
what's Thursday?
Thursday, we're going to have another joker. Is going to come in. He's going to talk a little bit about podcasts. So what we thought we'd talk about today was how you got started, because you obviously brought me into this. You had already had a podcast. You'd done several, and you're on radio. So I thought we'd go over the evolution of how did you get started in it, and then how did one lead to the other, and then what have you, as a result of not just hosting a podcast, but being a podcast guest, how's that helped you?
Okay. You want me to just start talking?
Just start talking. Which came first, chicken or the egg? Radio, podcasting?
Radio.
Where'd you get started?
Radio. So in 2018, I had somebody call me and say I knew her, and I knew she was in radio. She constantly wanted me to do ads in radio, and I just didn't feel like talk radio. I just didn't think it was that great. And please, that's before what I know. I was like, I don't believe in radio. I believe directly to consumer. I believe in direct mail. I believe in a bunch of other stuff. I don't really believe in the airways, because it's to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I want to niche it down.
Right.
Well, then she had brought to me, hey, would you like to do a local radio show about real estate and finance? And there had been many people in the past, over the past 20 years, who had a show on that station, KFI, which is 1360. It's iHeartMedia, KFIV. It's a talk, it's a Power Talk 1360. And they've had other radio shows on there, Central Valley Real Estate and something else. And she helped bring one of them almost 20 years ago. And she's like, they just didn't listen to me once they got started. They went this other way. This is how you should do it. So I did it exactly the way she said we should do it. So I said, first of all, yes, I'll do it. And our first on live air, we had callers calling in, asking questions. And she's like, that never happens. Never happens. And I think one of the things is because the name of the show was unique. I had I had a blog back in 2010, and I named it Real Estate Jerky. We give you something to chew on, that old thing off. And so when it said, okay, we're going to do the radio show, what are you going to call it? I said, well, I'm just going to throw this out there. It's not going to hurt my feelings. And I said, what about real estate jerky? We give you something to chew on. They're like, oh my God, Smokehouse Studio, blah, blah. And they just rolled and it took off.
Mm-hmm.
We did really well. We built that morning segment on Saturday, and then it replays on Sunday at 10 a.m. So we're at noon, always on Saturday, and there's other people below us, but we built that segment because of that radio show that I did, that I'm still doing to this day. So your question is, radio came first, but then I was like, okay, this is between 51 to 71,000 people who listen to the station.
Right.
How do I take this same thing and move it into another sector so that I still get it? And I'm like, okay, we want to take this and turn it into a podcast. And so I started uploading in probably September of 2018, the Real Estate Jerky podcast.
Yeah.
Which is the radio show, just cut to all the commercials taken out and just smooth. And we upload it on Monday.
I got you.
And so I've been doing that ever since. And then I had a guy come in and start videotaping us in. That's how old I am, videotaping. He's cameras, not videotape, and taped us and put it on, and we cut it up. But the problem is it took weeks back then for these, multiple camera angles, and now we do it and we can have it up. I can do my morning show and I'm ready to have it uploaded within 15 minutes of that.
It's crazy what AI technology can do now. I was at an event this past weekend. It was somebody's birthday party, and I was talking to somebody who's in production with film and cuts up video, and he was complaining. He's like, I use Adobe Premiere, and to cut up her stuff, it's taking me forever. I'm like, why don't you use Opus Clips? He said, what? I'm like, do I have something?
Try Opus Clips. Did you get that? Did you get your affiliate link out there first for him?
I need to.
Just, if you're not going to have one, just give them try Opus Clips.
Right.com.
Please send it my way. Come on. If you're not going to get it, I'll take it. Get opuspro.com.
See, I've got so I get the cheat sheets, get the flashcards. I need to do get Opus.
You can't. It's already taken.
No, I'll find a different way to steal from you. It's fine.
Oh, the other guy stole it first.
Oh,
he has get Opus Clips.
Yeah.
So that's why I went try opusclips.com and I went with get Opus Pro, because eventually they're going to change the name to Opus Pro. You watch it, because that's their website.
Oh yeah,
opus.pro.
I don't know. You never know. High level, even though they're still high level, everybody still calls them Go High Level because that's the website, right?
Yeah. All right. So so went radio, then to podcasting, but I didn't get into real podcasting like we do now for a few years. I didn't get into it until probably, so I did radio for I'd probably say late, right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Or right as it hit, I started Inner Edison podcast, which is your greatest accomplishments come from your greatest defeats. And I could go back, but I could swear it's been since 2020, because in that period of time, I wanted to do something different outside of my industry. And my wife came up with the actual name, which was, I give her the credit all the time. Everybody loves the name, and they got the logo made and everything. And it did really well in the first 2 years. I mean, we were in the top 1% of the country and actually the world with our downloads and stuff. And then in what are we in right now? 24. So in October of 22, I just started getting people who wouldn't talk about their failures. And I just
crazy because everybody's got them.
Well, that's the whole purpose of the show, was about that. So I stopped it for about 6 months. And when I did that, I lost a lot of followers from that.
Yeah.
So don't stop them. You got to be consistent. You got to keep doing it. You got to, I'll tell you what you need to do to make sure that it keeps going, which is you got to do at least 2 to 3 shorts. You got to put out on after you upload the podcast through wherever you upload it through. I put mine on Libsyn, and then it uploads it to everywhere for me. Yeah. Then I also put a piece on YouTube for the same thing, right? And then, but you need to cut a 3 and a 5 minute clip out of there, or 2 3-minute clips, whatever it is. You just need 2 separate clips of something good, so people will watch that and then eventually watch the full thing, and then 3 shorts. And you just need to post those things constantly. Each week.
I was on a podcast. We recorded like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But what was interesting is the podcast host. It's the Life Without Secrets podcast. She has been posting. They had their editing team go in and find clips of things I said and made it my quotes, and they keep putting it out there and tagging it. So it's a great way to keep that episode going.
Mhm.
So they put out teaser, put out quotes from it, and tag me and herself. And that's one of the first ones I've seen break down the individual quotes and tag and say, hey, do you want to be a part of this as well? It's a great idea.
Is it quotes on on screen, or is it actually you talking the quote?
No, it's little quotes on screen
Okay.
that people can read.
Right. Okay. Well, so what happened was Cast Magic just started a studio where you can highlight it, drop it in the studio, it creates it, and then you can post it.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if that's what she did. I'll show you
I
after.
guarantee you, if it's been in the last couple of weeks, it just came out, and I was like, "That's amazing that you can do that." So, because I was looking at Cast Magic, and again, that's trycastmagic.com or getcastmagic.com.
Right.
And I was looking, and they just came out with it where it says a studio, and you can do that. But you could do the same thing in Cast Magic. It has the quotes that of what we said, where you can highlight it, and you can move it into Canva and create your own little ones also, and then tag people with it.
So I'm going to send it to you so you can see it. Copy link, send to Ed. You can check it out later on.
Yes, sir. I'll do that for you, sir.
That way you can see, is it what you were talking about? But it was something.
I'm just saying, no, but they're grabbing quotes because Cast Magic grabs them where it's, prior to October of 22, I had a person who went through each one of my episodes and transcribed it and cut up a little blog to put on the website and do this other stuff. And which then Cast Magic came out and don't have to have that person anymore.
Yeah.
Right. You need help to do all this, but you don't need as much help as you used to be.
So you recently moved studios, moving from your office back to the house, cut down on time.
Back to the house. I never had it at. Well, I take it back. In 2020, as soon as the pandemic hit, everything was locked down. My staff was at work. I was at home. My wife was at Kaiser working 13-hour days, doing everything she had to do. So I did have it at my house, but we had no idea how to do the radio from the house.
Yes.
Right. So we figured that out. And eventually we now just use Zoom, even though I have these different software you can go through and do certain things. I found it just because it's AM radio. Yes. Not like it's stereo, it's AM radio. So it's clean enough. And we use really good mics and you can hear us well. So I'm like, that's just easier Zoom for what we're doing.
That's what I was going to say. The first thing you recommended to me was get a better camera than your laptop has, and then get a better mic. So a lot of people when I started recording stuff, it was AirPods and my MacBook. Then eventually upgraded camera. Then like at the time I got started, people were like, oh, Yeti mics are the mic. That's what you have to have. And
we all have one. I got one back there hidden. I tell everybody, do not buy that mic. It's the one you see in all the pictures and everything because it looks cool, but it's not the one you want to use for good podcasts. Because there's two types of mics, dynamic and condenser, I think, or
confidencer.
No, it's not confidential.
So I can tell you coming from the telephone world, there was the regular handset and then one that had a confidencer in it. That's what got rid of a lot of the background noise.
Well, that's condenser. Is that what you said? Condenser?
Confidencer is what I thought.
No, it's a condenser microphone. That's like anyway. And then there's dynamic or whatever. Basically you want the ones that like this can only grab the sound from the front of it, not the sides. The condenser one grabs those sound from the outside, and that's what basically so they say there's 4 types of microphones.
Right.
Dynamic microphone, large diaphragm condenser, small diaphragm condenser, and ribbon microphone. These what we're using right now, the what are these? Shure, whatever, SMB something. Those are the dynamic, and that means that it doesn't pick up any sound except for what you're talking into it. If I stepped away from it, you would hear an echo in the room. If I talk right here,
people go back and watch older podcasts. When I had the Yeti, they would hear whenever the lawn people would decide to come in, and you do the neighbors and the leaf blowers and everything else that you don't hear anymore.
Right. But what's good about getting these mics, you still need sound baffling in wherever you do your studio. I know you don't have it yet, but you can make them. They're very inexpensive. It's 2x4s and this special insulation, and then you wrap it with a fabric you can breathe through. And how you know if it's a breathable fabric?
Put it over your mouth.
Exactly.
Waterboard
And
yourself.
breathe through it. I put these in my, so what happened is I was at home. I went to the office, took over this one room, and I put up the things that most people put up, those little flimsy things you can get in big packs that look like egg crates, those black. Yeah. And that was fine. But when I moved into the big studio, which was my old big conference room, it had an echo in there. And to get rid of that echo, I created those sound baffling boards, which is very easy. You can Google it, tell you exactly how to make them. And they're pretty inexpensive. And then I brought them to my home studio, and you can't hear anything in here. You can't, can't hear a pin drop. I mean, it's amazing. There's no echo. It's just, you click, you know what I mean? You don't hear that extra stuff that you would do. And I have them all over in here, and I have them down below by the window. And then I have big, thick curtains that cover my windows.
Yeah.
Keep that sound out, just so it doesn't echo around. So that's okay. So that's my podcast. That's what I do. Yeah. You can make amazing rooms. I saw a guy who made his garage into one. He had chairs and everything to do his pod. I prefer this. I'm not going to sit next to somebody and talk. That's not my thing. My thing is I want to be able to talk to many different people. Plus, I also have green screens I can pull down and change the look what I have.
Yeah. It's interesting because when you see a lot of people and even well-known speakers, and you see, and you're like, oh man, they're in this whole studio and everything. You find out, no, like you said, it's 2 chairs in a spare bedroom or something. Now, there are people, take a look at Bradley. He's got a whole studio, but he has that studio for people coming in to record videos and stuff. But a lot of people in their garage, in a spare bedroom. There is actually a guy here in Dallas who he bought up out of office spaces. He bought 2 floors, and it's got 6 to 8 different studios that you can come in, and for $500 an hour, they'll record and edit and produce your podcast for you. So some people do that. There's
will
a
they
lot more
cut
people.
will they cut up all the little pieces also?
I don't know. I didn't dig into it. I've been
Because
there
for that
on podcasts.
$500, that would be worth it if they did all that other stuff too. To all you had to do is just put it out there. But for $500 to go into a studio, record, and all they do is edit it and give it to you, and then you have to cut it up. That I know everybody's happy right now in Dallas, but it's going to get to a point where it's going to be, and you're in a bigger city, and I can see how that's happening, but it seems expensive.
Yeah, I don't know what they have with it. That was just somebody was telling me what the cost was, so I didn't dig into the details. But I do know it's 3 to 4 different cameras. Depending on how many people you're interviewing.
Right. So they're doing a professional multi-camera put together kind of thing.
Lavaliers or microphones, depending on how you're talking. So I'm ignorant to that because I've always just done it from home. And so I'll go to somebody's event. But there's 2 girls I know who do a podcast, and there's a trailer that comes up and pulls up to their office, and they knock out a bunch of podcasts at once, and then that trailer drives away.
Well, because I mean, if it's $500 for an hour, you could get 2 shows. It depends on how long your shows are. You don't have to do podcasts that are 30 minutes to an hour. You can do 10-minute podcasts, just as long as you get that good. You got to figure out what your number is. But I do so much, I would be gone all the time.
Yeah,
and like this week, I had one Monday at 7 a.m. I had one on I'm going to say Tuesday. I am Tuesday. Another one at like 6:30. That's the one reason I moved it to my house, is because I got tired of going to the office so early.
Right.
I mean, I got a podcast at 7. I'll be home at 9. I don't want that. I want to be able to go do something, be back, and figure it out.
Well, let's talk about, since anybody who's ever been on our podcast, you have a set of requests / rules that when we're talking to them. So obviously go and allow sharing for StreamYard, but try and be wired in direct. What are some of the other things that you really like when somebody's on a podcast?
Right. All right. So when I mean wired in direct, that means you're not on a Wi-Fi. You're actually Ethernetted all the way back to your router or your closer router, because that is the best signal. However, I'm Wi-Fi in here, but I'm at 600 and 500. So there's a little different than that, because I have extender. If I'm in my front room, I could be on my laptop right in where the router is, and I'm 700 megabytes up and down. I don't have a drop. But that's not everybody. I had one person the other day who's just like, yeah, I have Comcast. I have really good. I go, you do for download, but not for upload. And that's the problem you run into. The most important thing you want to do is when you're finding out what to, if you're going to do a lot of this video stuff and a lot of this, you need to find out what your signal is. You know, do you have cable? Do you have what's that thing? Fiber optic? What do you have? You look into the people who have fiber optics, see if they have it, because that's the best. Comcast or the cable companies used to be the best because that's all there was, but they've gotten the fiber everywhere, and now that's so much better.
And that's like the challenge of where I live now. My old houses, they were AT&T fiber to the premise. Moved out here, and originally I couldn't get any better than 50 down and like 10 up. And so if you watch podcasts, when I first moved into this building, I looked like Max Headroom. I was constantly grainy, stop talking. I've tried to call those people back and go, can I re-record the podcast? Because I look and see how crappy it was, and I don't like that content on your content. But even then, they're like, oh, we got a good deal. We want a Spectrum, and we got all this download. I'm like, yeah, but what's the upload? 30, which is better than what I had, 3 times better than what I had. But for just I'll go off for a second. The HOA here said, oh, it's a great deal. We're going to pay Spectrum $5,000 to run it here. They're going to give us this. And we had signed a 5-year deal or 4-year deal where all 18 units agree to only use Spectrum. I'm like, wait a minute. You're paying for them to do the work to then make sure they're your exclusive provider for 4 years. You're double dipping.
They should have paid. Spectrum should have paid the condo place.
They should have done it for free and just said you're locked into a 4-year contract. Right. And I tried to tell the HOA that, and they told me, no, this is just a good deal. And it wasn't. But hey, it is what it is.
Well, that's like when I was at my building and they were like, okay, I was going through this issue because I couldn't understand why. I mean, I occasionally still have issues through StreamYard, but nothing else. That's StreamYard's problem.
Yeah.
But when I was researching it, and so I went to Comcast and go, hey, I got AT&T in the building. They said I can give me 1 gigabyte, and it's only $180. And they're like, oh, let me look into. Okay, we can do it, but we got to increase your bill to $600.
Nuts.
But we can give you 100 by 100. Okay, I said, I'm sorry, but I don't think I'm staying with you any longer. And then right after that, I can get up to 5 by 5 at my house, 5 gigabyte by 5 gigabyte right now.
Yeah.
In our area, which the question really is that only works if you have a bunch of people pulling off of it, because really most computers can't do more than 1 gigabyte right now.
Right. Hey, so that's when I had the old service, it'd be things like, let me go make sure the cable TV's off. Let me turn it off on my iPad. Because that's how bad it was back then. So if you don't have optimal internet service, then what are some of the tricks you can do? Those are some of the simple things.
Just record it local and have somebody come in and do it in your building and then upload it. That's what your options are. But then the one thing about podcasting, you want to talk to people all over the world.
Right.
And that's why go ahead. I'm sorry. I keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I was going to say co-sharing spaces. I know a lot of people who started going to co-working spaces just to record, but then you're back to the challenge that you talked about earlier, which is now you got to leave your house to go to the co-sharing space, get in your car, drive, park, get in, hope that it's not super loud everywhere, unless you're going to take your Shure mic with you. There's a lot of challenges in doing that versus when you do it at either your permanent office or your permanent house, where your office is located. Those things matter quite a bit.
Right. And the other thing you run into is little technical issues that you have no control over or don't know how to fix. Like when I'm hearing on Brian's mic, when he talks, occasionally has a little crackle. And it could be he's too close to it, or there could be something else. I don't know, because there's these little foam things on here that when you talk into them, it's I don't want to say spit protector, but basically it keeps it from crackling, because if you have regular mics without them, it will crackle.
That reminds me. Hold on, I'll be right back.
No, we'll keep talking without you.
Do it.
All right.
So this is called I guess a wind.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was asking somebody, I was like, what is this for? It looks like a microphone for my microphone, and they call it a wind protector or wind condenser, so that if you speak and overpronounce your S's or your P's or something like that, it stops it from having the p sound.
Yeah.
because I never knew. I'm like, why do some people use it? Some people don't. I haven't found the need
I
to
would,
use it yet.
I,
But
like I said, you are crackling occasionally, and it could
yeah,
be that because of something like that. But it's just knowing just to talk and not
yeah,
increase your sound constantly, be at a steady pace. And that's another thing I've been watching. A lot of the videos that go viral have the people at a really, they're like at a snapping pace when they're talking. They're keeping
yes,
the cadence going, and they're talking much. Where sometimes I'm not that animated and like that, but some mornings when we do real estate jerk, it's in the morning. I've had a lot of coffee. We're in a
yeah,
hurry, and those are the best ones. Except for the other day, I cut up this thing where I was talking about 21% of the people are using buy now, pay later to buy their groceries, right?
right.
And in this thing I was doing it, and I went, and so I got somebody. They're like, you don't have to chuckle about it. I go, no, I wasn't chuckling about that. I was chuckling about, I can't believe we're here
Yeah,
in this issue that we're having. So no matter what you do and putting your message out, somebody's going to not like what you do, and that's okay. And those are the ones you don't run from. You still talk to them and you keep going. I've been
there's a
engaging so many haters lately,
yes.
but they're not engaging back.
There was a lady that she just went off about how this skill could be misused to, and I'm like, watch all my videos. When do I ever abuse or use this in the wrong way? Well, it could be. And I said, okay, well, so can a car. A car can drive you
So could
somewhere,
your
or you can run
government.
somebody over. Well, that's not the same. I said, look, obviously, and she's like, of course, she has her account set to private. I'm like, oh, well, here we go. Again, why do all the negative comments come from somebody who doesn't share? Well, it's for my safety. And I said, okay, obviously
Well,
you've been
maybe you
through
shouldn't be
something
so rude.
traumatic and you see everything through victimize. I don't know what it is. Maybe you need to talk to someone about that. But she literally just kept going on and on about how this skill could be misused and it's judging people. And, there's going to be racism and everything in it. I'm like, no. But
Yeah, I'm laughing about that. So get over
yeah,
that, people.
well, it just
Someone's always not gonna see the way that, and don't worry about that. Just get your message out. And we've been talking about
exactly.
podcasting. Just start,
Yeah,
and you'll get better. It takes a lot. People ask me why I did so many lives and why I did so many stuff over the last couple of years. It was to get better at it. The more I
absolutely.
did it, the better I got.
And
And now
that's,
I mean, I do freaking Rotary every week, and I stand up there and I don't care.
yeah,
I mean, everybody says you're so funny, you're hilarious. And because I'm quick, that I can do that stuff,
yeah,
and I'm just really good practice at for everything else. I just wish I would have done Rotary before I did those speaking engagement stuff we did before.
right. Well, never too late. Time to get back on more stages this year.
Well, we need to put our thing together. And just
Agreed.
be done with it. Yeah.
Yes.
And just I just don't want to spend 240 grand. I'm just kidding.
No, I was surprised he dropped that number in that specific. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
that's a lot.
going back to it of what you're talking about with Internetison, I'm glad he was willing to put himself out there and talk about the challenges of it instead of, oh yeah, it was a great event and that, talking.
Yeah, but
about
it was on
everything.
ACES53.
Yeah,
But he was willing to talk about what his challenges were on it, and that's how you should be. Everybody should tell
right.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, because then you can identify with people. Somebody else, I was watching. There were a lot of 5-day challenges last week, and I'll always subscribe for them. They're $100, $200. And one lady talked about being fired out of the blue, and people go through a lot of things. I was fired out of the blue. Well, I mean, I kind of knew it was going to eventually happen anyway, but because I pissed off the wrong people. But it's one of those things of you want to know you're not alone. I'm currently reading the book "Be Seen" by Jen. Oh God. I'm a script her name, Goeli Godley or something like that. And that's what it goes through is just, you're going to fail. There's going to be a lot of problems. And what you see isn't always the reality of things. Imposter syndrome is real. You just have to go out and keep trying things. And she talked in the last chapter about it was her time when she was dating her boyfriend and their live events where they made their major amount of sales. And they're like, hey, we're going to let you do the pitch this year. And she bombed it. Not a single person signed up. And that's where like 70% of their revenue comes from every year. So,
Gosh,
yeah. So it's in how do you adjust? What else do you do?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we've been talking about podcasting, what came first, radio podcasting and how to do that. I also I started before Intricacies, I started Helping the Brave, which was is a podcast for helping, veterans, once you take the uniform off, easier said than anything. See, even I sometimes still don't have everything off the top of my head, and we occasionally say so, and we occasionally say right, or those are the two things you shouldn't say. And when you're talking to the people who are listening, and you just say you don't say listeners, you say you. It's the same. That's what I learned on radio, and I keep bringing it over to this. That's what you have to focus on. But
it's the same thing in books.
Yeah, Helping the Brave it started just as a podcast, and then it went to where we did it live because of somebody when they were talking, and we did it live for almost 2 years. And now I'm doing it a little differently. I'll tell you about it afterwards, but basically it's still going to be live and it's still going to put up, but I'm going to get more and more of them so that problem is people go, okay, we're showing up, and then they don't show up. And then it messes everything up, and there's nobody you can get last minute. And it's an important thing that we're trying to do, especially with the fact that we're doing the fire walk April 12th and 13th. I want to get that information out.
Absolutely.
So let's see what else. And then we started this over a year ago.
Right.
And we just started. We had no idea what we were going to do on it.
Nope,
what the plan, where we we're going to go.
Steve suggested it, and like, hey, you guys should work together. I'm like, sure, okay. And then
we had already said we were going to work together. So thanks for Well, we just hit it off. It worked from the beginning. Yeah. I'm a giver and you're a taker. It works really well. Had to say that.
But so going to our Thursday Joker, it's going to be someone who comes in, and that's what he helps them do is like, how do they get set up? What are they going to do? How do they get branded for their podcast? All that kind of stuff. So I think this guy is going to be a good follow-up to this particular episode. And the best part is, I kind of know him, and I don't know him at the exact same time, but I think you probably met him at Podmatch or Podfest in Orlando.
I don't know which year, because I haven't been there in 2 years.
He goes every year, but I think I sent you his bio info, but
I'll have to
you'll know him. He, like my vests, he has a very iconic thing that he wears that people recognize him based on that alone. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that'll be good. My problem is I want more of these things in the middle of the country. I'm just tired of flying for 8 hours from California to Florida, because it's not really 8 hours.
You could do like everyone else and leave California. It'll be closer to everywhere else.
I'll never, ever leave California, because then I have to deal with humidity.
The humidity.
Yeah, I don't want humidity. I've been into Florida, lived in Texas. I've done it all. It's just I'm here to stay on my talk radio, fight the good fight.
Yep.
And get it back. Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much. I think we should stop it there for today.
Agreed.
We'll pick it back up on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll let the Joker come in, add to what you already kind of mentioned, everyone. So, all right,
and I will put together my podcast course so that people can buy it.
There you go.
Learn how to do
checklists, everything.
Yep.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us again on ACES53. Ed, thank you for being here today. For everyone, how can you support us? We're here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And on Tuesdays, it's just Ed and I bantering back and forth. On Thursdays, we try and bring in a joker or a special guest of someone who has a special skill or talent that they can help share with you guys. So with that, look forward to see everybody on Thursday.
All right.